Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Kuka and this is Søren, and we are Ask a Pilot, and our goal is to give honest information about aviation. And today we are having a little bit more of a chatty video about should you become a pilot now 2020 and 2021 when the whole coronavirus is going crazy.
Yes, so this is actually something we get quite a lot of questions about. For instance, Frederick, who is studying a university degree in Denmark, he has a passion to become a pilot, but he's just a little bit worried because of COVID-19, and he has actually decided to start taking a university degree, but he still has that dream of becoming a pilot. So for somebody who is considering becoming a pilot, is 2020, 2021 a smart time to become a pilot? That's what we're going to have a conversation about.
Personally, I do have opinions about it because I'm doing my private pilot license at the moment. So I'm in the same boat, so to speak. I will maybe come a little bit later on to the topics why I'm doing and what I'm doing at the moment.
To go back to Frederick asked a question about, well, before COVID-19 there was a lack of pilots, so now with COVID-19 around, what has that done to the whole situation, and when do you think there's going to be a lack of pilots again? And to answer your question, Frederick, I don't think there was a lack of pilots before COVID-19. I think there has been a lack of specific pilots. So when I say that, I mean pilots with a certain amount of hours experience on a type and everything. It has never really been the case of a lack of pilots straight from flying school. So I like to clear up that misunderstanding, at least that's my opinion, that it has never really been like, oh, there was a shortage of new graduating pilots.
Before the COVID-19, we were helping some of new graduate pilots to get into jobs. And I can tell you, it was hard.
It was really hard, yeah.
So I don't think that there was ever a lack of new graduate pilots.
No.
It was always the lack of experienced pilots. Yeah, with a lot of hours.
So to go back to Frederick again, COVID-19 has certainly not made it any better.
No.
The difficult thing is that there is no exact numbers out there, so you don't really know how many pilots are unemployed, but there's a lot. There's a lot of experienced pilots.
In Europe, we are talking about tens and thousands.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because we are also monitoring different forums all over the world, and it seems like depending on where you are in the world, COVID-19 has impacted different. For instance, in the States, it appears that there's still people getting jobs, and people, the flying schools have been open, when in Europe, everything at a certain stage was closed, and it was, it's kind of depends on where you are in the world.
Yeah, the market is different, and the COVID-19 has affected differently. In Europe, if you look at some numbers, like how much the airlines has been able to operate of their capacity, countries like UK and Finland, they have been only operating 10 to 12%. And then if we go to Russia, they have operated 40%.
Yeah.
You need to really consider where you are personally and what is the market at the moment in that area where you are. For someone who is thinking about becoming a pilot in US, I think the market is a little bit more positive than to someone who is considering becoming a pilot in Europe, because throughout the COVID-19, what I have seen of the numbers, so in US, they have been able to operate a higher percentage compared to European market. You could think that maybe the US market will recover faster than European market.
I think, so it really depends on where you are in the world, but I think in general, COVID-19 has not made it any easier for pilots to get a job. So I think after COVID-19, what is likely to happen is that those that have hours, that have experience, that have kept themselves current, there will probably be in the line for a lot of jobs before somebody newly graduated will be a chance of getting those jobs. But I think there are certain type of jobs that maybe an experienced pilot would not go for, like parachute jumping, or maybe initial instructing.
Yes.
So I think there will still be opportunities out there, but I just think the whole competition is going to be even worse.
I think we need to also think about how many students graduate from, let's say, one of the largest schools in Denmark in 1 year. How many graduates?
You put me on the spot. I don't actually know the exact number there, but I think in Denmark in general. It's about 100 a year for
Okay,
all the
so
schools.
do we need 100 instructors and parachute
No,
type
no.
of pilots? So I don't think, yes, there might be some opportunities to some pilots, but not all of them.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to give the message that there are, that there are no jobs around, but it's just like everything is just, the competition is just going to be a lot harder, I think. So I think in general, for somebody who wants to become a pilot, I will not say give up on that dream, but I would just say have a plan B. There might not be a job around when you graduate, so you need to have a way to pay the bills.
Well, actually, coming to that, well, I have personally read the IATA website. I have been following the whole situation because of my personal situation. And what IATA is actually saying is that the international travel will not recover until 2024, which is actually 1 year later what they predicted before. Of course, you need to think about that the situation is living and moving all the time. Most likely, if there is going to be a vaccine that will work for everyone, yes, maybe the industry will recover faster, but at the same time we cannot know. What I want you to think about is, okay, let's say the industry will recover 2024. So if you now start your pilot training 2020 or 2021, this will mean that you will graduate at 2022 or 2023. This is before the international travel is at the same level as 2019. Mentally just prepare for it, that there is no job in the other end when you graduate from the school.
But all these things are like, I mean, of course there's some people that are born optimists and they will always think the best, and it's really, really difficult if, let's say, a flying school said, oh, it's the best time to start now because then in 2 years' time you will be walking straight into the job. The truth is nobody knows. We don't know. I don't think, well, EASA have got calculations, but at the end it's just predictions.
Yeah, it is.
So I would say just have a plan B.
What I would recommend, maybe personally, that if you're a little bit not sure about it, maybe first have another education and then go for the pilot training when you have a little bit more knowledge of what's going on, how things will evolve.
I think that's also just a way to take the pilot training that is really interesting, and it's the modular way. For a lot of people, they think they can only become a pilot by going to the military or doing like an integrated course where you go to a school. But there is actually also the possibility to become a pilot where you do the whole training in modules. And I think this might be the only option you have if the bank is not really willing to lend you the money. This can be really tricky now. We've had some conversations with some banks.
Yeah, we have been talking with banks, and because we wanted to, of course, a little bit feel about the situation. The thing is, banks are not actually granting any loans to people who want to become a pilot, and the reason is that because the market is so overflown with pilots without job.
Yeah, so the traditional way of just going to an integrated course, go to a bank and get the money, that has almost been, our impression is just shot. So
mostly.
Maybe you could still borrow money, but it's almost like you have to say it's not for pilot training, it's to build the garage. I don't know. That would be lying, of course, but it's just like if you go to a bank at the moment, our impression is that they're not really willing to lend you money to start pilot training.
No, and so that in mind, if you now really, really want to become a pilot, then either you have to have the money yourself, because most likely the banks are not willing to lend any money at the moment, or then you have to do it modular way, so you have to work, pay a little bit, study a little bit, work more, and go forward. For me, at this moment, how I'm going to do my studies? Well, I'm doing my PPL, so I'm trying to finish that one off. But what I'm actually doing is I'm going to sit on my hands and wait. This is because there is so many moving parts in this whole picture of COVID-19 and the pilots and everything. For example, we are actually in UK. So we, on top of everything, we have Brexit to deal with.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any certainty about the licenses yet. So actually, is it beneficial for me to do the license in UK or actually in Europe? So I have more things to consider even before the COVID-19 as a whole. Yes, I think best for me is actually sit on my hands and wait what happens. Is there going to be a vaccine or not? And on top of that, I already have other professions. I do have other things to fall back on, so I'm not just a pilot. I'm a little bit more protected in that sense.
And I think it's about if you don't have another education, if you don't have something to fall back on, I think the message is maybe to protect yourself by having some other kind of degree.
Yeah.
And I think again going back to the modular, sorry, it's like it's easier when you're doing the modular way to maybe slow down the tempo a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you could always have the option, if you suddenly see the market is really recovering fast, there's nothing to say that you cannot complete a modular training as fast as an integrated training. But it just gives you a little bit more flexibility.
Well, if we wrap it up, so to speak, I would say, should you become a pilot 2020 and 2021? I would say sit on your hands and wait a little bit before you make the decision. And actually, I would recommend to take another profession, study something else. Meanwhile, you wait how the whole market is going to change.
I think I'm kind of down the same lines, but I would say that I understand if somebody wants to be a pilot, it can be really hard to just do something else than just do your dream. But I think in many cases it actually makes sense to take a PPL. So maybe that could be something you could do. Then at least you could do a little bit of flying, but it's not going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So maybe take your PPL, then you can always start your commercial journey later on. But I would agree with you, Kuka, that it's about having a plan B, and that could be to have another profession to fall back on. That would probably be the safest advice if you haven't got the money and you're willing to just wait maybe a year or two when there's no jobs around. Yeah.
That is our opinion on the whole situation. You can take it or leave it. You can agree or disagree. Of course, we would like to hear it from you. So if you disagree with us, just comment below.
Yeah.
Or if you have another idea, leave a message down there so everyone can read it. We would like to just remind you, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like more of these aviation related videos and our advice, please remember to subscribe to this channel, Ask a Pilot. You're always welcome to contact us if you have any questions.
So until next time, goodbye guys.
Bye.